announcement speech today, particularly with some issues at the legislature. Well, why did you single those issues out?
Well, I think we've had a history in Arkansas of Democrats and Republicans working together. And look, Arkansas is too small a state for us to turn this into a little Washington, D.C. down here. We need to work together. And what I've seen happen in this session has just been overly partisan, overly divisive. They've spent, the legislature in Arkansas only meets for 60, 90 days every 2 years for a regular session. Yeah, for a regular session. And, they've spent well over half, 2/3 of the session debating the same social issues that divide so many people that we've been debating since the 70s, that are largely going to be decided by the courts. And, it'd make a little bit of sense if you proposed a 12-week abortion ban or a 20-week abortion ban, but to pass both, clearly it was so they could brag about it in their next campaign. And boy, what a cost. I mean, it's going to cost the state millions of dollars in litigation, and the state's going to lose. Clearly, both of these bills are unconstitutional. That's why I think Governor Beebe, who's a moderate Democrat, common sense Democrat, was right to veto both of those bills, and I would have done the same thing. That's millions of dollars in court cost that they're going to cost us. That's millions of dollars we could be spending on ensuring our kids can afford college and ensure that we create economic opportunities and jobs for them to come home to right here in Arkansas without having to leave state after they graduate. And so, I think my message is pretty clear that Arkansas is not going to stand for this type of attacks on women, on families. Arkansas does not want to go back to the past. Arkansas wants to build on the foundation Governor Beebe has laid in the areas of education and economic development. And I'm the candidate that's committed to doing that. Of the candidates running, I'm the one that has a history of bringing people together. And, I've got the respect of Democrats and Republicans. And so I think I've got the history, the temperament, the steady hand, the fairness, the ability to bring Democrats and Republicans together. Look, not all Democratic ideas are good, and not all Republican ideas are bad. And we need to look at every issue and say, does it make sense for the people here in Arkansas? And I think I've got the history and the experience to bring people together to get results instead of continue all this partisan bickering we're seeing from the state capitol this session.
There were plenty of Democrats that voted for some of the abortion and gun bills that passed up here that were overridden by vetoes as well. So, I mean, you criticizing the Democrats that supported those divisive social issues too? I'm saying that attacks on women must stop. I'm saying that we don't need to go back and continue to debate the same social policies that we've been debating since the 70s that are largely going to be decided by the courts. We need to be investing our time and our money in making college affordable for our young people and giving them economic opportunities for jobs here at home so they don't have to leave Arkansas after they graduate. What do you think of the Halter Arkansas Promise Plan? Do you support that policy?
I think that that it's really nothing more than an empty promise. This is the guy that told us the lottery would bring in $100 million a year. It hasn't. This is the guy that said every child would get $20,000 in scholarship money. Now I think it's down to $14,000 a year, and yet somehow, without raising taxes, he says he's going to find $50 to $75 million in new money and do something no other state in America has been able to do, and that's guarantee every child in Arkansas with a 2.5 grade point average a free college education. I mean, I'm not going to make promises I can't keep because I'm planning on being the next governor of this state. So I think it's nothing more than an empty campaign promise. I have a history of making college affordable. I voted to increase Pell Grants, cut student loan interest rates in half. You heard my speech. I'm committed to making sure that every child in Arkansas who wants to go to college can find a way.
I know your record when you were in Congress. You had a pro-life record in some of your voting. Today you mentioned attacks on women when you referred to some of those pro-life bills. Where do you stand on this issue? Life begins when you think regulate that?
My position has never changed. I'm personally opposed to abortion. But my position is the same as Governor Beebe's. I think from a public policy standpoint, it should be safe, legal, and rare.
Your health care vote in Congress has gone already from the Republican. Yeah, I saw
saw that.
You were the deciding vote to let that bill out of committee. How do you respond to
First
that?
of all, go look it up. There was no deciding vote, so that's a lie. And so everything they say about me for the next year and a half, you're going to need to fact check, because it will probably be a lie too. Look, you know, when you're the front runner for governor, you're going to have the Republican Governors Association, the Republican Party of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson, whoever else runs against Asa in the primary, Bill Halter, whoever else runs in the Democrat primary. They're all going to be gunning for me. And I knew that before I got in this race, and I'm willing to take the hits because I believe in Arkansas and I believe in its people. And I think they deserve a vision. I think they deserve a future that's based on our values and growing this economy, creating jobs, and focusing on education and building on the foundation that Governor Beebe has laid. Look, that bill in committee occurred 8 months before Obamacare. That bill died in the Senate. The bill they're talking about was 8 months before Obamacare was passed. There was never a deciding vote in committee. The bottom line is this: Obamacare passed the Senate, went straight to the House floor, never even went through the House Energy and Commerce Committee, and I voted no.
I feel like some of the reforms you pushed for in committee maybe made the final bill better. Do you think it worked towards improving what?
Look, I ran for Congress in 2000 saying we need health care reform. That if we don't do something, no one in this country is going to be able to afford health care in another 10 or 20 years. I said at the time that I voted against it that there were good parts to the bill. You know, it was a very lengthy bill. And Governor Beebe, if you'll go back and look at the time, said that if he had been in Congress at the time, he would have voted against it. And yet he's for the Medicaid expansion, now known as the private option, and so am I. I mean, I've always said there were good parts to the bill, and I mean, look at who we're expanding health care for. It's folks that are on welfare are already getting Medicaid. It's the people that are trying to do the right thing and stay off welfare, but they're working the jobs with no benefits. And I think it says a lot about us as a state and as a people to ensure that health care will be affordable for them. And so that's something that I support. Well,
you mentioned some of the bickering in the state legislature. Do you think the private option was an example of bipartisanship?
I think it was a good compromise, and I supported that. And look, I'm not saying everything in this legislature this session was bad. I'm just saying that I think they handled some divisive social issues when they should have been focused on education and economic development and doing this private option, because these cases, these laws on the social issues are going to end up in the courts, and you can write it down. They're going to be struck down. It's going to cost the state tens of millions of dollars in litigation costs. That's tens of millions of dollars that could have gone to ensure that children could afford to go to college in this state. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying the last thing I want to do is see Arkansas become a mini Washington, D.C. We got to put an end to the partisan bickering. We've got to recognize that we're in this together and we need to work together. I've got a history of doing that. I've got the temperament to do it, and I'm committed to bringing people together to find common sense solutions to the big problems in our state.
Sir, we got to go.
Okay.